Traffic congestion getting worse and worse in our area. As San Antonio's population grows, so do commute times. Tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Vanessa Croy explains a new idea to alleviate your worst traffic nightmares.
From the freeways to the side roads, most of us can agree that traffic is a huge problem in San Antonio.
According to the SA 2020 Impact Report, our efforts at curbing traffic woes are failing.
On average, commute times have increased year after year. And with the growing population, we're seeing more cars on the roads and an increase in serious traffic accidents.
And to add to all that congestion, the SA 2020 team says not enough people are taking advantage of alternative ways to get around. So what is the solution? SA 2020 says it's a concept that's been around for the last few years. It's called complete streets.
Now that means a road that accommodates all kinds of transportation like bikes, cars, and public transit, and sidewalks for pedestrians. But according to the SA 2020 report, our city is making some progress in adding more miles of complete streets, but not at a fast enough rate to meet the additional 6,000-mile goal.
Well, we reached out to the city's transportation department and they told us that they are driving forward with those goals. In fact, there's only 4,000 miles of streets in San Antonio. And as of 2018, 58% of those roads have been transformed into complete streets. They have a goal of 60% in 2020. And with more funding and grants, that number could grow. Reporting in San Antonio, Vanessa Croy, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.